Ezekiel Elliott's holdout has now reached a full week. Yesterday, Jerry Jones was asked if there's a deadline to get a deal done, and he said, quote, "I don't see a point." He added, "When it comes to money, it has to fit our plan or it doesn't work with our house, and our house falls." Take a listen to more from Jerry yesterday.
When do you worried all about this not getting done?
I don't consider, no, I don't in any way, we're never ever not done one. You just keep plugging. I don't want to be a cliche, but it's what we tell these guys. It's just one foot in front of the other and go and do what you have to do the next play, which is put somebody else in there and just keep going.
Well, Shannon, should Cowboys fans feel encouraged or discouraged by Jerry's comments?
I think they should be discouraged because, Skip, Jerry Jones is talking tough publicly when there's really no reason to. Because if he's unconcerned, if he's unworried like he says he is, Skip, there's no reason for him to give you this tough talk. But Jerry is concerned because he knows Zeke is not about to take Devontae Freeman's type money, which is reset the market around $8–9 million. The market is going up. Whether you want to think it is or not, they're not going to allow you to reset the running back market lower than Le'Veon Bell, lower than Todd Gurley. You see, the thing is, Skip, Jerry Jones made a statement, I think it was early in the week, or maybe, yeah, it was early in the week, that you don't need a franchise running back or a league-leading running back to win the Super Bowl. He's right if you haven't built your team like that. When you go get three first-team offensive linemen in the first round, and they're first-team All-Pro, and you running back leads the league in carries 2 of the 3 years in which he's been in the league, you're absolutely wrong. You see, Skip, I don't need flour to make a steak, but I need flour to make a biscuit. You need Zeke. You built your offense around Zeke, so you need him to run the football in order for you to be successful.
I need steak.
If you have,
I don't need a biscuit. I'll take the steak. So you can have the flour.
I know you. But the fact of the matter is, I'm just making an analogy of how you cook it. You're right. You might not need flour to make a steak, but you need it to make a biscuit. You might not need the league's leading rusher to win a Super Bowl if that's not the way you built your roster, if that's not the way you built your offensive team. But when you built your team around a sound running game with 3 first-team all-pro offensive linemen, yeah, you do. You kind of need that guy. And Jerry talking publicly, Skip, I don't get the benefit of it. It's like Zeke's like, oh, my God, did you hear what Jerry said? He's talking tough. Let me get on this plane back from Cabo. You know, he's down in Cabo. Yeah, he had a good old time. And get on back down to Oxnard so I can get in the training camp. It's not going to happen. Jerry, get ready to break bread if you want Zeke in camp.
So you're hopefully discouraged about all this. I think Cowboy fans should be discouraged, as in encouraged but somewhat discouraged, but in the end, encouraged. I know that's complicated, but Jerry's really complicated to try to decipher.
True.
But the key comment yesterday was when he looked sideways and said, when have I not gotten one done?
Yeah.
Seriously, when has he ever not gotten one done? Never. He always gets them done. Yeah. I'm going to say it one more time. What Jerry does best is money. Jerry's genius when it comes to money. Maybe not football decisions. Money, he's got it. Cap wizard. He will figure this out. It's just going to take a while. So he dug in harder yesterday, and he's just spitting facts back at Zeke. I don't have any timeline. There's no point, meaning no point of no return, where he's saying, well, there's going to be a deadline here. There's no deadline. Why is there no deadline? Because he has all the bargaining advantage. He's got all the leverage over Zeke. Zeke's got 2 years left on his contract, and then they could franchise him for 2 more years. That's 4 years.
Okay, Skip, to your point, though, you said Jerry said there's no timeline. If there's no timeline, why the tough talk?
Because he's just digging in. He's daring Zeke to stay in Cabo. And I told you from the start, I know Jerry Jones. You don't mess with him. You don't confront him publicly. You don't show him up. by not showing up for camp and going to Cabo. You don't do it.
Yeah, we go to Cabo.
What did I tell you? You can attract more flies, as in dollars, with honey than vinegar, and he tried vinegar. And Jerry's playing vinegar. Okay, so
I like bees.
Fight fire with fire, says Jerry Jones. He's playing hardball now. And there was a later quote in this media session. I won't read the whole quote, but it brought up something that Jerry used to say to me in the 3 books that I wrote, much of them concerning Jerry Jones. And I spent literally hundreds of hours around him, interviewing, just hanging out with him. What was his favorite expression? How did he build his fortune? Drilling oil wells. What does it take? His motto in life is tolerance for ambiguity, meaning how much risk can you take? Most people can't take as much risk as Jerry took in the oil fields, because there was one day that he talked about flying into Love Field, in which the woman at the car counter, the rent car counter, took his credit card and took scissors and cut it in 2 because it was done. He was tapped out. So he went bust several times in the oil and gas business before he struck it rich. Wow. It's tolerance for ambiguity. So he's saying, I've done this a lot more than these players have. And he said, I don't want to see him try it. I don't want to see him cavalier about it. But he's just basically saying, I have the patience to wait these kids out. They haven't done this before. My whole life has been tolerance for ambiguity, meaning ambiguity, what might or might not happen. You have to be willing to risk it by being patient. Jerry is ultra patient.
You do, Skip, and that's the thing. That's the thing is that Zeke is that when you take this stance, you got to be willing to go the distance. But Skip, I don't know if you remember this. Jane Slater was on our show, who works for the, I think, NFL Network, and she covered the Cowboys, and she's all things Cowboy. She said something very interesting, and I don't know if you picked up on it. She's like, how broke is Zeke?
Picked up on it. I asked her about it a second time. Yeah. Thank you.
What did I do? Skip, remember I told you, Skip? I said, financially, the Cowboys know where Zeke is. They've done their homework. They know Zeke has a house. Zeke has cars. Zeke probably got mama a house. So they know how long Zeke can play this thing out.
Agreed.
I've always felt that in order to hold out, you don't hold out, start thinking about holding out the year you're going to hold out. You start the year before, and you start putting in plans in place. So you said, okay, no extra expenses, because I'm going to be willing to miss checks, but I also understand that there are mortgages and car payments and things of that nature that must be paid. And if there's no money going in and money coming out, I need to have as much already stored up, so when that money goes out, I'm not in a rush to get back. That's up, and that's what Jerry's talking about. Jerry says, I can do this, because did y'all see the Forbes? I got the most valuable franchise at $5 billion. I'm worth 6.2. So I got the stomach for this.
He does.
I'm not going to get seasick. I've been on this rocky ride before, and I've taken my Dramamine, so I'm good. I'm not going to lose my guts over this.
That's what he's saying. He's also obviously carefully analyzed the psyche of a Zeke versus, let's say, an Emmitt Smith, who obviously held out for the first 2 real games back in 1993, and they lost both. Then Jerry came to the deal with Emmitt.
Sure.
But Emmitt was cheap, though, Skip. Emmitt didn't spend no money. Emmitt was cheap. Emmitt's always been cheap.
Saved his money. Agreed. Zeke, as opposed to Emmitt, and I was around Emmitt a lot, Zeke loves football. Zeke loves being around the fellas in the locker room and out on the practice field. Zeke loves to practice football. It's just fun for him. It's where he's most content in life. Emmitt, not so much. He didn't love practicing at all. He didn't want to practice at all. So, again, Emmitt was more built to hold out through 2 real games than Zeke is. And so Jerry's going to push this a little harder with Zeke. If Zeke, showed him, you want to play hardball? Okay, let's play hardball. And obviously, this is a 3-pronged attack here for Jerry, because he's got Dak, Amari, and Zeke. Well, who's more of a priority right now? Well, it's Dak, because he's in the last year of a contract that pays him a grand total of $2 million. So you better get that one done first, okay? What's next? Amari's in the last year, but he seems very content right now practicing with the Cowboys. He's voicing no urgency for a new deal, but he's in the last year of a deal that pays him $13.9 million.
Yeah, he's
okay. You know, does he deserve $18 million or whatever else? You know, Michael Thomas has got almost $20 million. Okay, fine, but he doesn't need it today. And then we get down to the third priority to me, which is Zeke, who's going to make 3.9 this year, 9.1 next year. So he's got 2 more years. So again, Jerry's pushing him down to third priority right now. And Jerry's just daring him basically to hold out. Do I want to see him hold out through a real game? I do not. Do I think he will? I do not. I think they will get these deals done in the order of Dak, Amari, and then Zeke.
Skip, I believe Jerry is overestimating his hand. Jerry's forgot the way he configured this ball club. Jerry built this ball club to be a running team first and then play action and everything else off the run game. So he's misplaying his hand, Skip. He might have pocket 10s, but I believe Zeke has a better hand. Zeke got pocket jacks, pocket queens, or kings are better. So for Jerry to think, well, I got Dak. Dak's in a quarterback. He was only making $2 million, and he's in the very last year. Amari's playing on the option year. I got 2 more years of Zeke. But the way you've configured your team, Jerry, you built your team around what Zeke Elliott does really, really well, and that's run the football. And then when you can run it, you can play action off of it. There's a reason why, Skip Bayless, you said Dak Prescott, he took off once he got Amari. So in other words, as long as he got other great players around him, he can be a better player. He's dependent. You can say receivers play a dependent position, but your guy's dependent on the running game and Amari Cooper. So that's why Skip, if they thought Dak Prescott was what you think he is, why wouldn't they have already given him his money? How many guys have gotten money?
Quick question. Do you think Tom Brady is dependent on his run game? Do you think the Belichickian offensive philosophy isn't built around the run game? Because that's all they do. They run it more than they throw it every year, right?
But Skip, here's the thing. The thing is that they would rather have the ball in Sonny Michel's hand than Tom Brady's. This is why in the playoffs, they average a 162 a game. I know what Tom Brady can do, hence 5 Super Bowls, 4 MVPs. All things being equal, I would rather him hand it off to Sonny Michel. Let Sonny Michel get 4 or 5 yards a carry than have the ball in Tom Brady's hand.
Unless it's
on the Cowboys, it's reversed. Skip, on the Cowboys, it's reversed. They would rather have the ball in Dak Prescott's hand as opposed to having the ball in Zeke Elliott's stomach. Therein lies the difference
just
between
remember,
the two.
Jerry got to see his quarterback throw parties against the Eagles twice and throw and run Seattle out of Jerry World in a playoff game. That's what he got to see last year. So he knows
Zeke Elliott had 100 yards in both of them.
Yeah, yeah, and then we got to the Rams.
Zeke Elliott had career high in scrimmage yards against the Eagles. You remember that, Skip?
No, I don't. I remember Dak throwing for 331 in 2 fourth quarters. Yeah,
those are the things you remember.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, guys? This is perfect because we have more to talk about when it comes to Dak